Order today's Board of Adjustment, City of Stephenville, and we have a full agenda, so we're going to start right at 4 o'clock here. I'm waiting for Mary Beach McGuire to arrive, but in the meantime, we have a quorum, so I'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is a citizens' general discussion, so if there's anyone here from the community who would like to discuss, this is all before all the requests need to be heard and so forth. So anyone here to bring a comment or two from the community? Okay. Well, then we'll move along to considering the approval of minutes from the June 13, 2024 meeting. We have enough. Oh, I wanted also, before I do that, introduce Tina Burton. Thank you for volunteering to be on the board, and I'm thrilled that you were sworn in before the meeting and that the city council approved your presence on the board, so thank you very much.
Thank you, I'm very happy to be here.
Very good. All right. Do I hear a motion regarding minutes from June 13? They were in the packet, the agenda packet that was already listed.
I move that we approve the June 13, 2024 minutes.
Absolutely. All right, very good. Any discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the minutes from June 13, 2024, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay, none opposed. All right, well, let's open the public hearing to, let's hear. We have a lot of cases, and some of them are about the same property, so the agenda is a little less congested than it may appear on paper, but still it's a busy one, so I'm hoping we can make our way through these in a timely fashion. So if you would introduce to us, Mr. Killen, case number SE 2024-001.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Applicant Chris Brooks with ERAF County Emergency Management, representing ERAF County Annex 2, what we know as the tax office, is requesting a special exception from section 154.74.E12. This is related to a 500-foot buffer radius to install a radio tower in a non-residentially zoned property. This is for property located at 320 West College, which is parcel 29285 of City Edition Block 24, lots 1, 3, and 4, which is the tax office, City of Stephenville, ERAF County, Texas. Just to clarify, this is a county-owned building, even, but it, as read, City of Stephenville, it is a county-owned building. This is for a joint dispatch equipment, and we have lots of members, community members, and elected officials, city representatives, ERAF County representatives here tonight, and I believe we have some folks, some of the local residents that are here to speak on these cases. Mr. Chairman, we have 3 different variances. We'll have to act on each one, but each one is for the same property.
Mm-hmm.
The only variation will be the reference to the code cited, which I'll call those out as we move through each case. I want to make a couple of notes. Jeff, if we will scroll down to the site plan included in the document or in the packet, you'll see that they have a floor plan for the building, and then on the following page they have a site plan of what the layout will be. It's a little confusing based on the layout of the schematic, so keep in mind that when you're looking at this, it's turned differently than what you would see on the property as found on page 9. And probably page 9 would be the easiest. Well, I'm sorry, Jeff, let's look at page 12, and you'll see the orientation of the building as it lays with the streets, as you would probably recognize it a little better that way. We did send out letters to a 500-foot buffer instead of a 200-foot buffer. And that is because of the reference in the ordinance to being a 500-foot variance or 500-foot diameter of any residential property in relation to where the tower will be placed. We had one letter of opposition. This is if you look on page 11, you'll see that the building itself is in the downtown district, but surrounding the property, you'll see B3 zone properties. Not necessarily a residentially zoned district, but there are residential properties within that district. I believe that hits on the highlights, and with that, Mr. Chair, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Very good. I'm trying to remember, in the packet, was the letter of opposition included?
It should have been emailed to the board last week.
Oh, okay. Did you receive a letter of opposition?
I received it too for
Yeah.
the carport.
I'll see if I can get that on my email and read it in
Read it
record.
aloud for
It was
us.
very short. It was
Okay.
just an email that said wanted to express his opposition to the tower,
Okay.
but there was no additional detail provided.
Well, what we'll do is, at the appropriate time of the hearing, I'll ask you to read that to us. So if you could find it before then, even if you just paraphrased it. Okay, very good. Any questions from the board for Steve? And then we'll open up the public. Okay, so, is Chris here?
Yes, sir.
Chris Brooks? Oh, if you'd just come up to the podium. Yes, Jason?
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to go a different order, if that's okay with you, and allow me, the city manager, to speak, and then Judge Huckabee, before you get into the technical details, if that's okay with the board.
Is that fine with you, Chris?
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. Jason, of course, if you and Judge Huckabee can go first, and then.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, members of the board. Chris will get into the technical details about
Okay.
all the different variances, but I want to make the board and the community aware of just kind of the scope of what this project is. We have been talking about joint dispatch between the city of Stephenville and Erath County for probably 30 years. Throughout my entire full-time law enforcement career before I moved into city administration. And we just never could manage to get it pulled off. And then we suddenly got all the right people in the right places, and shortly after Judge Huckabee took office, those discussions picked up steam. And in August of 2023, the City Council of Stephenville voted to sign an agreement to join with Erath County, and the Erath County Commissioners Court and Judge also signed that agreement. And both of us dedicated a large sum of money, $1 million from each entity, towards the construction. And as part of that agreement, the identified facility is the former tax office. One of those reasons is neither entity really wanted to try to commit funds to find land and build a new facility. And if people remember, before that was a tax office, it was a jail. So it kind of already checked all the boxes on the type of building that you would be looking for. And it allowed us to create some efficiencies fiscally for the citizens, as well as combining those services. So all of that was kind of thought out before we went to the council and the commissioners court. And so 15 elected officials voted and said, we're going to create a joint dispatch center and we're going to put it over here. And then as we've moved through that process and come up with floor plans and equipment needs, it became evident that a new tower would be needed to work for the 911 system and for the mobile radio system that the city of Stephenville spent about $2.5 million on to get the new radio system in. And Erath County has spent twice that amount, probably, to get the same radio system. And so all of this is to provide provide for the safety and welfare of the community through our police department, our sheriff's office, all of our fire and EMS, and join everything together. We don't really have another option. And so we do have the requirement to come before the board on the tower. But again, This was a long thought-out process, and the two governing bodies, the city and the county, both voted and said, this is what we want to do, and this is where it needs to go. And so we're asking the board today for its consideration on the request related to the tower to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Judge?
Good afternoon. I am Erath County Judge Brandon Huckabee, 100 West Washington. I started on the Board of Adjustments as my first act of community service with Chairman Causey back in the day. Seems like a long time ago now. But just to give a little more background on what Mr. King said, this has been long in the works before I even came on board. We had talked about this when I was on the city council of how we could be more efficient and effective in our communications with our law enforcement, our fire department, emergency management realm. We've dedicated a lot of money to the communication side piece of it fairly soon. I'd like it tomorrow, but probably in 2025, we will all be on the same radio system where the communications will be able to hear each other and talk when we go on joint calls. We are also with our neighbors. Our neighboring counties are moving to this radio system. So it started this process, frustrating process through many years, and we finally got here. When I took office, we started these conversations again, and I think, like Mr. King said, we got all the right people in place to move our community forward is what I believe we're doing. And so we went to work with what do we need to do? Where would this facility work? He talked about it being a former jail. Part of a facility of this like this needs cement walls, cement roof for natural disasters where it can continue operating. And we already have it within this building. We built the Annex 3, which is now where the tax office was, so we had that building available. Next step was the towers that we would need for the communications. Myself and several other elected officials, including our state rep, met with the NCT 911, which is the North Central Texas Council of Governments 911 board that basically controls 911 for our region. And we're able to get them to commit to building 2 towers for us for this 911 facility. So at about a savings of, I would estimate, I know one was about $700,000, and so you're looking at $1.3 million that we were able to go to the COG and get them to help fund. So there's been a lot of moving parts. We're kind of at the final phases of final checking the boxes of what we're trying to do here. So I would just ask you to take the information in. That's why we're doing it. It will drastically help our communication, cross communication between departments. It will cut down on response times to emergencies. If and I hope it never happens, but if we did have any kind of major disaster, we have an actual facility, which you can see in those pictures, where we would have an emergency control room, which right now we meet in a 5x5 room in the police station that's been here since 1953. And so it's helping move us forward, and it's going to make us a safer community. So I appreciate you. I sit up there. I know it's not always an easy decision, but I appreciate you taking everything into consideration. And technical questions, Mr. Brooks can help answer those. But if you have any other questions for me, please just let me know. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Yeah, we knew you back when. My father used to tell a story. He would say, well, Doctor, Momin, where are you going to be in 20 years? Where are your students going to be? And I said, well, I'll be hopefully a professor. This was when I was a grad student. And but they'll be, doing wonderful things, maybe going off to other universities, maybe having other jobs. And he goes, he would say, life is a river. you are on the shore. Your students are in the river. Oh, boy, maybe I am the river, Dad, so. But anyway, you're in the river, and, it's nice to see you have success at the county judge level now, so. All that to say, thank you for both Jason and Brandon for being here. And so, Mr. Brooks, if you would come up to the podium and introduce yourself, please. And
Yeah.
then the thing is we have 3 cases regarding the same property, the same issue. It's about the radio tower. One has to do with the buffering, one has to do with the height, one has to do with the setback. We have to take them all in individually, though, and so initially, we'll be voting on the buffer, but if you could sort of address the whole project in terms of that radio tower, that would be useful to us, and that way we won't have to kind of play a game of just repeating the same thing over and over again.
Right.
Okay.
Well, good afternoon. My name is Chris Brooks. I'm Erath County Emergency Management. I don't know how much more I can tell you really than what these two have told you. I can tell you that we built a board to oversee the construction and everything and make the decisions along the way, made up of the police chief, or the sheriff, the Erath County EMS director, myself. We have the Firefighters Association president, which would stand up for all of the volunteer fire departments across the county, the fire chief, the sheriff, city fire chief, the county sheriff. So everything that's been put into this has been a higher level of folks that's putting it together that are all completely on the same page. So like I said, I don't know what more I could tell you other than what they've told you. We're in a stage right now where we're moving forward to architectural design, and we've got some RFQs out for architectural design and a construction manager at risk. So we're trying to do it 100% the right way to benefit everybody across the board equally. There's not going to be any lopsided anything when we get done. So the main topic, right, being that this tower being where it's at, I think 911 hinges a lot on that. And as Judge Huckabee said, that NCT 911 was quick to come in and want to offer up to build this at no cost to the city or the county. That tells me that someone even higher than county government is seeing a need for improvement and progress, so I mean, I feel like we're very lucky to have those folks on board, and then to have the city and the county come together on this big of a project is major to me. I've not been here as long as some of the folks have, but it's something that we've thrived for a long time, and we see it kind of coming together. And is there any questions that you feel like that maybe we have missed or can explain something a little more in depth?
I think I have a question, and I think it's beyond the logistical aspects of the actual property and the tower itself. I think, if anything, the community may wonder things like, will it cause a buzz around the property? Will it affect the property values of their homes? Will it be the kind of thing that creates some form of hazard? Is there, in other words, I think it's going to be that kind of question as opposed to how, you know what I mean, like some of those other issues.
I wouldn't have the answer to that. I lean on the judge, I guess.
So what you're gonna see here in your packet is from JTS. JTS is the tower builder that does a lot of the tower sites and things for NCT 911. And so in the depths of theirs, as far as a buzz, not that I believe we have these. This is going to be similar towers to you see in other places. This one is a single support tower though, so there won't be, if you see some of these towers where there's support guide wires and cables like that, it will not. We're going down into the core, so it's a single support. No doubt there will be a tower there. To some of the questions, there should not be a sound. It's not reverberating a microwave. We're moving to digital, completely digital communication system, which is L3 Harris. You should not have any issues with that I'm aware of. I mean, this is literally, we're moving from a microwave type situation you're talking about to a completely digital, think your cell phone, internet type situation.
Any other questions from the board?
I have I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I have a question, and it may be completely off of what we're discussing here, but just to kind of tack onto that, so there won't be any interference per se in like the area where there is residential as far as, you know, things within the house electronically. And aside from that, I lost my train of thought on what the other one was. I'll let you answer that one first.
So the reason that you're seeing this, and not to jump ahead because we're in the buffer, but you see the height of it, right? Because they've done all the studies, all the engineering studies that take us to this 225 height that clears everything out and allows it to hit the other towers that we're building throughout the county and the city is built. So it would be above the layers of all of that.
Okay.
Household interference and stuff of that nature.
And how will this impact our ability, or will it, as far as communications outside of Erath County, you know, like to other counties and?
Huge. It's because right now Somerville County is coming on board. Hood County is part of this. Palo Pinto has talked about it. About the network, Granbury and Hood County started this. They created their own trunk for L3 Harris radio system. That's part of what we're joining. So we will have a much better communication line with our surrounding counties. Some may never be able to join us because it's a budgetary item. I mean, it's very expensive. We've spent, probably by the end of it, we'll spend about $7 million on the communication side of it on the county. And so not every county's able to do that. But it will allow us to communicate better. If Chief Harris has a police chase that leads into the county, that leads into Hood County, they can literally communicate back to our dispatch center and with all those other entities in real time. Whereas I think if you asked him right now, there's a lot of cell phone usage and things of that nature because we do not have the capabilities, or have not had the capabilities for that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am?
As a mom and a member of the First United Methodist Church that sits right next to that building, I have a question. We frequently use that sidewalk to go down, to take our kids from the church down to the park. It is gonna be fenced in, correct?
Absolutely. So
So-
it's fenced in, it has
Safety-wise,
generator, yes.
okay.
And
No issues there.
one of them slides, and we don't have the finish because we're still doing the RFQs, but there's landscaping, and it will be a really beautiful building, actually, on the outside of it when you're done. This is built on the back side of it, because we own the parking lot above there as well, and so it'll be all back in, tucked in that area. Because you can see, we're actually putting a drive-through there where emergency vehicles can come through and different things. So we're gonna spend quite a bit of money on just making it look modern and nice as well. Yes, ma'am.
Is that the image you were
Yeah,
referring to?
partially, yes, yeah. That's not the final, that's a concept.
Yeah,
We're,
cause this has it in like the corner of the building and it doesn't look like there's anything right there.
Well, that's
But do I have it?
this.
'Cause it's going in.
Same as what you're seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what
yeah, it will
Yeah,
be
it says a
completely
new
safe.
retaining wall.
Yeah.
Erath County still owns the land and will own the building in perpetuity, so we don't want people climbing up of it. So it will be very secure in that manner.
Now that you've put that out into the universe, as if anyone needed your, yeah.
Not that it's definitely happened. a few
Class of
times here,
2026.
so there you go.
Teenagers.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Any other questions?
If I can elaborate on what you're talking about the interference in the homes and all that stuff, I believe that the concept of that probably in the past has been grounding. So any little bit of interference that might go outside of that tower and what that tower is connected to is gonna be huge inside that building. So any kind of something real small to anybody else is gonna be really big to us. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it's all connected, you know, we listen to it all day long, he's got one on him right now. And when you get that little tick or that little buzz or something like that, we know something's wrong before probably anybody ever would notice, if that was a thing. But I believe that the company that's, that 911 has hired to, NCT 911 has hired to put this tower up, that's what they do. That's what they've done for years. So they're very meticulous on all their grounding, what's in the ground, what the structure under the topsoil, everything. So I believe that all the bases are covered there, for sure.
And with the cell towers, you know, the cell phones, it's, especially when college starts, which that's gonna be within 2 weeks, that's not gonna be any, it's gonna be over those towers and be in good shape.
Guys,
We-
let me step in for a second. All of these radio signals and these 911 signals, they're currently working right now, going right through this building and all over downtown and all these houses, because that's how it works today. Right over here, all these same signals are going to the Stephenville Police Department right now and back and forth, and it's all operating at a much lower height, and it's not interfering with anything. They operate in different frequency ranges than anything else. And so we're just moving them up simply to create better coverage.
Yeah.
But all these same signals are already down low, working right now.
And just so everyone understands, it doesn't, these questions are basically representing a community curiosity, not necessarily any number of us going, So we understand the tower and the whole plan is in play, is moving in a direction. We're just asking the kinds of questions that on Facebook Live, there are people watching. And so I just want to make sure our due diligence is that these things are addressed. So thank you for,
No, I'm well aware
we appreciate.
of the public meetings,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. So, I'm just trying to move us along.
Yeah. Yeah. All right.
Any other questions on that?
We won't have to ask these same questions for the next couple of cases. So, thank you so much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Brooks. And if anyone from the community has a question for us, and if you've filled out one of these forms already, this is your time. So, I'll open it up to the community. Yes, if you just state your name and.
My name is Tom Scout, and I live at 802 Prairie Wind Boulevard. My wife Nancy and I are here. We just have some questions. We're a little concerned about this. We know some other people are too. We own the property at 320, 330 Barton. And a question I have is on the 15-0 vote on people who voted for this. Was that a 15-0, everybody voted for it, or was it close? There was a vote about 10 years ago, I think it was, on Dale Street, that they voted to put the, what do you call it, the speed bumps in, one of the dumbest things I ever heard. So I'm just wondering if it was still a unanimous thing on that. Had nothing to do with this, but you might look into that to see if it was the same type of a vote. And another thing, on the tower that's going up, is that strictly for 911, or is it for other things also? And just wanted to point out that if it's going to create a buzz of any sort, and it's just not 911, we'd like you to look into it a little bit further. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shaw. Yeah, please.
So, yes, it was unanimous. All, whole city council voted yes. The entire commissioners court voted yes for it. What was the next one? It is,
Yeah.
this tower is for 911 and communications, 911 communications, yes. And as far as buzz, like I said, it should not create any buzz. I mean, there's,
Using the word should.
well, there's a tower, I don't speak in, there's a possibility of anything happening right now, but there's a tower literally right here, by the police department that's doing the exact same thing. There's one right by the sheriff's office that's doing exactly the same thing. To my knowledge, I've never had a complaint, and I can let the city say if they've had, I've never heard or had a complaint about a buzz from the towers at all, so.
Thank you very much. Any other members
Just
from
add for the benefit, I live just a block from the police station and I hear no buzz at all. We enjoy our outdoor space just fine without any kind of buzz or interference from a tower.
Mr. Killen, is this where you would insert that one? You said there was an email, or is
Oh,
that
yeah,
a
we
different
have a-
case?
Yes, sir. There was just one email. Lives on Columbia Street. That was not included in the email, but it basically states, please accept this as notice of opposition for case numbers SE 2024-001, 2, and 3. That was, please consider locating the tower away from downtown. Thank you. That was the end of the little email.
Very good. Anyone else from the community who is here to speak for or against this case? Very good. Well, I'll close the public hearing and entertain a motion regarding this case. And again, the board understands we have to do these by a case-by-case basis.
I move that we approve the variance requested in case SE 2024-001.
Thank you very much, Jojo. Do we have, JJ?
Second.
Do we have a second? Thanks, Mary. All right, any discussion? I'll call the question. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Same sign? All right. Mr. Killen, if you would.
Yes, sir,
please-
Mr. Chair. Again, same property, same tower, section 154.74E2. This is for requesting a special exception related to the tower height. And the tower height by ordinance is limited to 65 feet. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
And what is the proposed tower height? What was the variance?
210.
So it's a sizable.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Killen. Mr. Brooks, if you have any extra insight into
Right,
what
so
this.
again, I'm gonna lean back on the cog on this one. This is what they've proposed for that area, that elevation, to get back to Fort Worth on their 911 system. So that's not the city, that's not the county. That is 911. That's the height that it would take for 911 to operate at that location.
Any questions from the board for Mr. Brooks?
What's the call again?
North Central Texas Council of Governments.
Okay, thank you. Same thing you mean by NTC?
Yes, ma'am, sorry.
Thank you very much. Is anyone here from the community here to speak for or against this actual case regarding height? All right, we'll close the public hearing and I'll entertain a motion to approve or deny this case, 2024-002.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve case number SE 2024-002.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
Mr. Rima. All right, we have a second by, Ms. Vert?
Yes.
All right. And any discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll go ahead and call the question. All in favor, case numbers SE 2024-002, please say aye.
Aye.
None opposed? It's approved. Mr. Killen, we're ready for the next case.
Yes, sir. It's SE 2024-003. This is for section 15474E4. This is in relation to the location of the tower on the property. This would allow for the construction of the tower in the specified point, which is in the side yard, technical side yard of the property. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. So what is the proposed variance on the actual setback?
I believe we're looking at about it's going to be, and we might ask Mr. Brooks
Okay.
to provide some clarification on that. I'm believing it's going to be about a 6-foot variance from the side yard.
So we looked at some of the drawings, Steve and I, and we're not 100% that we're gonna be within the 10-foot, but we didn't wanna miss it. We didn't wanna, we sure didn't want it to look like to the public that we tried to slide something by. That's why this is in there. The reality of me going back to JTS and telling them that we have to be inside that 10-foot, if we're 4 foot's not gonna make really that much difference, so, but we just didn't wanna miss anything, that's why this one is in here, for sure.
But we're not granting a carte blanche, I mean, this is you know what I mean? Like, in the past, we usually have a very precise request.
Yes,
And
sir.
so that's why I'm asking for a.
Mr. Chair, let me clarify.
Yeah.
There's not a specified distance. It just, the section 4
Okay.
only says that it cannot be in the front or side yard. And technically, where this is going to be located would be considered the side yard. Jeff, if you could pull up page, let's try 23. Perhaps we can give you a location of exactly where it's gonna be located and why we chose it was best to include this as part of the variance request.
Right, right.
Chris, am I understanding that it's gonna go here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's gonna go in this little setback here.
Yes, sir.
And based on the layout of the property, that's considered the side.
Okay.
Really, it's kind of the back, which would be permitted, but with it having frontage on Barton, to Mr. Brooks' point, we just wanted to make sure that there would not be any concern whatsoever, even though it's subject to interpretation if that's his rear side or
Got it.
rear yard or side.
That makes
Full transparency, that's what we're going for on this one, is just full transparency.
Beautiful. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, any questions from the board for Mr. Brooks on this?
Okay, so then that is different from what the plans, I don't know what page this is, sorry.
We had mentioned at the
side
very
plan.
beginning, the orientation of the drawings are turned. So if you'll look at that footprint, that is where we will be having the turn
Very
good.
exactly. If you rotate your
But that's still,
the
this is,
building orientation.
this is saying it's gonna be here. The site plan.
And I think that's what he meant.
But
It is
but
gonna-
you're saying it's gonna be here.
I'll defer to Mr. Brooks. I understand. Mr. Brooks, where exactly, could you direct me where it's gonna be on?
I thought the drawings made it sound like that darker spot.
It's on the parking lot side, Steve.
On the parking lot side, okay, so
There.
I stand corrected. So in that case, it would still possibly
So really-
be considered a side yard, because what makes it difficult to discern is because of this projection.
Yeah.
And so technically, it could be considered, with this being the front of the building, that could certainly be considered the backyard. And in that case, it would not even need a variance request.
It's odd because it faces 3 streets essentially.
Correct.
Yeah,
So,
you're absolutely right.
That's right.
Again, just trying to cover all.
Covering all the bases.
Beautiful. All right, thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
All right, anyone from the community here to speak on this case regarding this setback? All right, I'll close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion regarding case SE 2024-003?
I move to approve SE 2024-003.
Thank you, Mary.
Second.
Thank you, Robert. All right, any discussion? All right, all in favor of SE 2024-003, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay. It is approved, all 3 of those cases. It'll be great. It'll be an amazing step into the future, really. What coordination? That was my misunderstanding. Yeah.
That's why.
All right, glad we could be part of that history. All right, Mr. Killen, if you could please introduce to us the next case, which is V 2024-016.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. J. Emery is requesting a hearing pursuant to 154-21-3C. This is variance for construction of a carport located at 2190 Woodland, which is parcel 29015, Block E, Lot 10 of the Chamberlain Addition in the city of Stephenville, Erath County, Texas. Mr. Emery is requesting a variance for the construction of a carport that will encroach into the minimum of a 12-foot depth from edge of the main building. This is for an R1 zoning district with a single-family residential requirement. If approved, the 12-foot requirement will be reduced to 5 foot in order to allow the applicant to have access between the carport and the building being his single-family home. The applicant is also requesting a variance to the side variance setback. If approved, the side variance setback will reduce from 5 foot to 1 foot. And with that, I'd be glad to answer any questions.
So 4 feet. 7 feet variance and a 4 foot variance.
Yes, sir. They're on page, Jeff, if you don't mind, page 38. There's an illustration of the site plan itself. You'll see the footprint of the house. The blue highlight between the house and the blue highlight is the 5 foot. Generally, it's a 12-foot requirement. This is a 12 foot from the back, from the structure itself. This is a 5 foot request, so that will reduce by 7 foot to your point. And then the 1 foot, if you'll look at the property line on page, well, it's illustrated there, the dark line to the north of the blue line, assuming that's north. It will be basically 1 foot off that side property line. If you'll look at page, I noticed this and I thought it was worthy of pointing out, if it'll show up on our aerial. But on page 43, if we can zoom in on that, you'll see that a vehicle is parked in the driveway. So this vehicle is actually protruding across the property line. The carport itself will be 1 foot from the property line. So the vehicle pictured is actually extending out beyond where the carport can be located, if that makes sense. So carports can actually fall 1 foot short of that blue line. So really no concern with the encroachment into the right of way or anything like that.
And of course,
Better drawing, one look at it.
Pleasure of the board.
are you
sir.
Mr. Emery?
I am.
Okay, very good.
There you go.
Thank you, Mr.
Thanks, Mr. Killen, and any questions from the board for Mr. Killen before we move forward? Mr. Emery, if you'd come up to the podium, please, and we'll open up the public hearing here regarding V 2024-016. If you just introduce yourself and then make your case.
My name's Jay Emery. I live at 2190 North Woodland. Yeah, I wanted to build this carport to basically protect my vehicles and add a little property value to my home. I'm not real sure about the variances and all that. That's pretty detailed of what I want to do. It'll be attached to the roof line, and it'll go out about 18 feet, something like that.
Any questions from the board for Mr. Emery? No? All right. I think we don't have any questions. I think it's kind of self-explanatory based on the application, so.
Okay.
Yeah, but thank you for the drawing and for the details, and.
Bet.
Very good.
So it's approved or what?
Say what?
Is it approved?
We'll see. We'll have a vote.
Okay.
So-
Public hearing, sir.
Yeah, I know. So you can go ahead and have a seat.
Okay.
Is anyone here from the community to speak for or against this case? All right, we'll close the public hearing.
Wait, we have two,
Then we have
two letters in support of.
No,
That is correct. I
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
apologize.
Yeah.
2 letters of support, one
Yeah.
from a Miss Penny Elliott and one from a Miss Betty Everett.
Yes. Penny and Betty.
Penny and Betty.
I read those letters. Did everyone see them?
Yeah.
Okay, they were included in the packet as well, and so we appreciate that. If Penny or Betty is watching, we appreciate input from the community. I will then close the public hearing, and do I hear a motion regarding case V 2024-016 from the board?
I move to approve the variance in case V 2024-016.
Thank you, Mary. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Tina. Any discussion? All in favor of this case, V 2024-016, motion to approve, please say aye. Aye. It's unanimous, so, yes, it's approved, Mr. Irving.
Okay.
All right, we have three more cases to hear. And Mr. Borges is here, and so, Mr. Killen, we're ready for you to present 2024-018.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Joseph Borges, representing CJW Partners LLC, is requesting a variance from section 154-1237. That's variance from sign regulations for property at 200 West Washington, right next door. Parcel 29202, Block 7, Lot H of City Edition. Mr. Borges is requesting variances to place an additional projections sign on the property. This is the building next door. You'll recognize it with the Rexall drug signs that have been in place for many, many years. On page, Jeff, I appreciate you working with me on page 53. There's an illustration of or a rendering of what we believe that's going to look like. This is from the sign company that Mr. Borges is working with. And based on what we know at this time, that's a 7-foot, I believe at one time it was a 7-foot diameter. I believe the illustration here says it's 5 by 5, so I'm assuming that's a 5-foot diameter. Regardless, it is going to project not as far out as you can see from the rendering. It will not go any further out than the existing signs. And the sign ordinance also requires that there's only one sign on the facade. This is on the very corner of the property. So with those signs being, I don't know that they have any real historical designation, but certainly they have been in place for a long time. I think the community, for the most part, would appreciate them remaining in place. And Mr. Borges desires to keep those in place, but he would also like to advertise the business that is currently operating there, King Coffee. If you haven't been, I'd encourage you to visit. So what we're looking for is more than one sign per facade, extending beyond the 4-foot limitation from the face of the building, and then protruding into the TxDOT right-of-way. That is interesting in itself, even though it's a TxDOT right-of-way. They work jointly with the city to make sure that those right-of-ways are honored. City has no objection to this, as the signs are already there and have been for many, many years. So Mr. Borges has a communication with TxDOT to make certain that they don't have any objection to it. But I can tell you that we worked with TxDOT on some other items that Mr. Borges wanted in relation to this property, and they granted access to that right away then. So I'm assuming it's gonna hold true for this sign, which is in I'm estimating that sign is roughly 24 foot above grade. And with that, be glad to answer any questions.
Very good. Any questions for Stephen before we move on? All right, very good.
Uh,
Mr. Borges?
Good
Could you just
afternoon, Board.
introduce yourself?
Joe Borges. I'm partners in King Coffee with my brother-in-law Lance. He's the master. He's the one that makes all the goodies over there, and everything just, I believe, fabulous. So I'll make it short and sweet, and then I'll let Lance talk. As Steve mentioned, we did have to get approval from TxDOT. They're not out there yet, but to put some outdoor seating right here off of Washington, and they approved that. I think they're actually ordered. They're just not here yet. So there was the Rexall sign. I don't know if we could legally take it off if the owner of the building would allow us, but I think it would hurt our business. He told us when they came and did the movie, they took it down for recording, and his phone was getting blown up. And he's like, no, it's going back on. It's just for the recording. And we don't have no interest in, we kind of made the colors of our logo go with Rexall. And my sister informed me, she's the one that came up with the name. Rexall means king of all, and we decided to name it King Coffee, so we're just trying to tie it all in, keep some of the history. That SPO sign, that sign is staying. We're just sticking a different logo on it.
That was my first question. Is it gonna have King Coffee on there?
Yeah, so that's, yeah, I don't know when it'll be ready, but we've already ordered it. But after hearing the county talk, I might want to put a sign on that 200-foot tower, But no, that's all I got. I don't know if Lance wants to say anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Borges.
So I'm Lance Battenfield. So the thought is to tie it all in together, and I'll just tell you, like, that's one thing. Like, we have no desire to mess with any of the Rexall stuff. Like, we want to keep that up for the community. We want the community to be proud of the building, because we are too. We think it's really cool. I can't tell you how many people I've had come to me and tell me all the stories of them being in there when they were kids. I talked to one gentleman who said, I used to work there. He showed me all kinds of pictures. So we want to keep the history. We love it. Like you said, we even tied the colors in so it would work. So yeah, we just want, I don't know if you've been on that corner, if you kind of look at it, it's a big bright sign, the Rexall sign. It definitely sticks out. And so we want to have our sign in a place where we can almost get noticed by that, where people don't just only drive by and say, oh, there's the old Rexall building, but they can also see, like, oh, there's a business present in there, and it's called King Coffee. So we definitely want to have that notice, and that's important to us. And then if you look at the building from, different angles, we thought coming off the corner would be the minimalistic approach to that, where we can get the angle on Washington, on Belknap, and then also for the square. So yeah, and then the SPO sign that's there in the picture, it's actually a pretty small footprint. You can't quite see it, even if you're standing on the sidewalk or in the street, hardly. So yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking, is to put the sign up above it, to kind of tie in with the rest of the building. So yeah. Any questions about any of that?
It says lit cabinet sign. Is it gonna be will it be lit up?
It will be lit up, yeah.
And, what kind of lighting are we talking?
It's just gonna be, so the color that you see there, just the white sign, and then we'll have blue lettering with the gold, the
So
Rexall gold crown.
It'll be a white light.
It'll just be lit, yeah. At night, you wouldn't be able to see it if we didn't have it lit up. The Rexall sign actually has lights on it, but I guess they're all busted out or burned out, or it's old.
Oh, is the light shining on the sign, or is it backlit?
It's from inside.
From inside.
Yeah.
So driving down that street, one of my biggest pet peeves is that LED sign that's right there by the courthouse. Anytime there's
Oh.
anything bright white that flashes
Well-
up on that screen, you go about blind.
I'll tell you,
So
those,
my concern
yeah.
is, how is this gonna affect people who are driving down Washington?
those
Is that-
LED signs
you
are
gonna be able
super bright.
to, exactly.
This one's not gonna be like
Not
that,
okay.
no.
Or are you gonna be able to maybe adjust as needed? I guess that's my concern.
I also have a billboard business,
Yes,
and
I know.
so we're state regulated. So my billboard, compared to what you see right here, is different regulations. This billboard's also right at your eye level when you're driving. This
Exactly, that's.
I don't know if
that's
it's
true.
24 feet, but that's what Steve's guessing. So I'm gonna take his word for it. So, I mean that's not gonna be in your line of sight when you're driving.
Okay.
It shouldn't be.
Shouldn't be,
Uh,
okay.
But it is like a solid, oh, go ahead.
Oh, go, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
They're not quite, and they, well, for one, it's.
Wait, if you're gonna answer, please do it.
Yeah,
into
go
the mic,
ahead,
Because
y'all
we're,
can both stay.
Sorry. Well, it doesn't move and change, so it's not gonna be quite the attention grabber, and they're not near as bright. I've got one on Lingleville building, and it's not like those big bright lit LED solid screens. You know, this is an actual sign, so,
And then,
yeah.
one last thing, TxDOT did ask us the brightness, and the business that we've hired to install this, they are getting a luminance for TxDOT, so,
Okay. So,
Tech-
well, then it'll be,
so, yeah.
yeah, okay.
I mean, it's not gonna be a strobe light or anything like that. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think you answered, but I just wanna confirm, it's like your basic, strip mall sign, it's a plastic.
Yeah,
facade
it's
with
probably
lights
gonna
on
be
the
the
side,
same, like
vinyl on
Bosque
top.
River Center, they have all them,
Yeah.
it's gonna be the
Cause somebody
same.
said digital earlier, and I was like, ooh. Thank you.
one other question, and this is, why not, again, this is not, it's not me, it's just, just representing a community, right? What about those who might say, well, why can't you just put King Coffee signs on both storefronts, like on the side and on the front, and not have to do, a standout from the wall sign?
One of the reasons, if you're on the side, I mean, you gotta be standing, I'm just guessing 15, 20 foot back to be able to see, especially on this one that you see in this picture with that awning. It's
You
not,
understand what-
it's not that
Yeah.
easy to see there.
Well, one would require putting two signs, so we could put a sign on the other side as well.
As, like, not in addition to, but
Yeah.
instead of. Like,
Um,
right now, you have a King Coffee sign that'll go on the SBO storefront sign. So someone could say, instead of asking for a variance, can't you just put a sign on the side of right here, just right there on the side of the wall,
Would
to
that
where you
make
have
a-
a storefront sign on both storefronts?
I understand what you're at.
Yeah.
Another thing I didn't mention, driving traffic, I mean, it'd be, like, they wouldn't see it, cause it's against the wall. You know, if we stick it out a little bit, then it's gonna catch your attention. If it's flat against, if you walk out there, you know, you can't see that
Yeah.
whole thing unless you're looking straight
If you're
at it.
facing down Washington, you wouldn't see, unless
Right.
we stuck the sign off the side of the building. It would make
Right.
sense if we went off the side towards Washington. If we
But
just
this
go
sort of
off,
covers both.
Oh,
It
if you
covers
cut,
both,
yeah,
yeah.
if you stuck it off the wall, they would see it, but if you put it flat against the wall like this one, I mean, we just left it there because
and this way it
that-
does both,
This
Yeah.
reduces clutter off
And
the
it would
building
be-
because you're not.
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like, it's this way, right, which means
It's
it's
the same
being
as the
seen
Rexall
from-
sign
Seen
currently.
it.
And there's already signs kinda going up, so
Yeah.
just thought,
It works with the aesthetic of the building too, honestly.
you see
it
my-
really does.
yeah, no, I get it, yeah.
The other thing
good
is,
question.
we were talking about height, you know, and driving level or whatever, that's just gonna take it down to if you've got lighting, so it's better for it to be up driving versus lower driving, to me.
So we want it to look really nice, that's kind of our, you know, that's kind of been our dream since the get-go, so whatever we do, we wanna do it A+, do it the right way.
And then what happens, thank you very much. I have a question for Mr. Killen. Sorry, sir. So let's say in 15 years, they sell they sell this business and move it to a different location, whatever. I mean, just hypothetical. So what happens to these signs then?
So
What-
the,
in other words, this is, whenever we grant a variance, typically it's kind of permanent.
the variance stays with the property.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Not the business itself, it's with the property.
Right, yeah, that's what I meant. So, in a sense, when we're saying there's a variance being allowed for King Coffee, whatever business ends up moving into that corner, way beyond when you wanna sell, right, like, then this will be allowed for whatever the signage is for that business. So just another one of those things to consider or to remember.
I mentioned one, but I'll get back up.
Sure.
So in other words, there's no control in the future. This looks almost like it's part of the Rexall branding and all that. But there's no control in the future. It's gonna be whatever, if this is approved.
Right,
Just like the
Mr.
one
Kill?
that's already left up there, it's just, I
Well,
mean, it's gonna be there.
But keep in mind, most businesses, when they leave, the sign is not gonna be kept by the next person
No, I
coming
mean,
in.
we're
Here-
reusing that other one. I mean, the top came out, but the structure stayed. And, I mean, just think if it's like Moman's Book Sales that goes in there, you're gonna wanna get advertising as well. And
That's right.
you just, more than likely, the next business that goes
Well,
in
we
there is gonna
appreciate that
just wanna
there's-
push
Yeah.
their own sign
Yeah.
where the current ones are.
It's a good placement for the sign, that's why the Rexall's on the corner.
Yeah.
We don't own that building. It's in our, we have, if they ever want to sell, we got first right. We would love to own that building one day.
Yeah,
And if we're fortunate enough to purchase it, we'll make sure if it's not the coffee shop in there, that it's something that's gonna be pleasing to
Yeah.
downtown and,
yeah, okay.
But
It's
that-
just another base to cover,
No.
just making sure. All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone from the community here to speak for or against this case? And we didn't get any emails or any
No, sir.
letters? Okay, very good. I'll close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion regarding case V 2024-018?
I make the motion to approve case number V 2024-018.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have a motion and a second. And any discussion?
I would just like to say something to you guys. First of all, thank you for keeping the Rexall and a little bit of history of Stephenville, because I appreciate that a lot. I'm old enough to remember some things, and I think it's very nice that you took the signage that you did for your coffee shop and used the same colors and tried to tie that all in. And by the way, that's a great place.
So, Lance and my sister.
Awesome. All right, well, I'll call the question. Any, I should say, do we have any further discussion? Okay. All in favor of case number, the request, the motion to approve V 2024-018? Please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. It's approved. Congratulations. Thank you very much, and I can't wait to have some King coffee.
Good job.
They need to trade that one.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it would have been really good
It's
if y'all
open
would
now.
have brought us all some, you know.
Well, I think that wouldn't be good.
We didn't wanna do anything illegal.
Yeah, you'll read that in the packet.
I know.
Okay,
I know.
we need to move along. Our next case is V 2024-019. Mr. Killen, if you do us that honor.
Yes, sir. Miss Carol Gibson is requesting a variance from section 154.53D3 for minimum lot width for property located at 210 Davis, parcel 32654, block 5. It's one parcel but two lots, 16 and 17. Miss Gibson recently acquired lot 16 and is requesting a 4.46 foot variance relating to the lot width for this particular lot, as it is only currently 70.54 inches wide, hence the request for the variance. Current land use requires 75 foot of frontage, and the lot on, or the home on lot 17 meets the setback at 4.98 feet. Should be 5, but I think we can round up on that.
Mhm.
It's been in place for many years. If approved, the new home constructed on Lot 16 will be required to meet the setbacks of R1 zoning. Ms. Gibson, thank you for returning my call the other day. I got your voicemail. That answered the question. You might note on page 57, they have a site plan. I guess that was a survey back in the day. There's a camper on the property, and it states there that it's a camper, but I wanted to get some clarification on that. Ms. Gibson confirmed that it is indeed a camper, and the intentions are to have that removed from the property when she builds the new structure. So just wanted to answer that question in case that came up from the board. And with that, Mr. Chairman, Ms. Gibson is here, and I believe I've covered everything, but if not, please let me know. I'll be glad to answer questions.
So the actual variance is 4.64 feet.
4.46, I
4,
believe, so.
okay, but it,
And just for, wasn't specifically specified in the request, that was just in my staff report, so if the
Very
board
good.
wanted to make that for 5 feet, I don't think there's any violation of due process or notification.
very good. And it's a question that I often ask you, and there's no objection from the city.
No objection.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Gibson, would you come up and introduce yourself, and maybe if we have any questions for you, you could answer them?
Yes. I'm Carol Gibson, and I acquired this lot, and I want to build a 1,200 square foot home for my granddaughter. And that's about it.
How nice. Yeah, that's awesome. Very good. Any questions from the board? Thank you for being here. All right. Well, did you have a question?
Well, I was just gonna ask, and it will have the sidewalks and all that.
I'm sure it's
With-
gonna be the only house on that street
on
that
that
has a
street.
sidewalk.
Okay,
But I
They'll
told
be-
my contractor to put that in.
that's, okay.
They will be required unless they go through the variance process, or not the variance process, but the waiver process through P and Z or through, if it's a minor waiver, through staff level. So that can be determined once you submit your building plans.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
Appreciate it. All right, any community members here to speak for or against this case, this request? Okay, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing, and do I hear a motion regarding case number V 2024-019?
Mr. Chair, I move to approve case number B 2024-019.
Thank you, Robert. Any
Second.
second? Do I hear a second? Thank you, Mary. Any discussion? Well, sounds like a very reasonable request to me as well. So I'm gonna ask for the vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous, so congratulations, thank you very much for being here, and I hope your granddaughter knows how blessed she is.
Yes.
And finally, are you Dylan? All right. Save the best for last, right? Mr. Killen, if you'd introduce, please, case number V 2024-020.
Yes, sir. Applicant Dylan Davis requesting a variance from section 154-1250A, variance from sign regulations at property 899 West Washington, which is parcel 29577, block 62, lot 1 of the city addition for the city of Stephenville. Ms. Davis is requesting a variance from the sign ordinance, requesting a 7-foot variance from the setback to place a monument sign 3 feet off the property line. Monument signs are categorized as freestanding signs and are required to be 10 feet from the property line. This property is, as mentioned, on Washington Street. And if we look at page, see if we have a good illustration in here.
And there's a photo.
Page 70 is a good rendering of what it's going to look like. Obviously, the
I'll put
yards,
the
along here are very shallow, and so coming 10 feet off of the property line would put the sign almost right
In
on
the
top of the building, so she's placing it there. I did a little research anticipating the question if it's going to create any side obstruction, and I personally don't think that it will. You can see with the vehicles parked in the adjacent parking lot as they enter onto Washington, the position of the driver will not be affected by that particular sign, in my opinion. And with oncoming traffic, I don't think it will really have any impact as well. So, again, that's my opinion and not necessarily based on any scientific evidence, but I thought that might be a question, and I wanted to make sure that I addressed it as best as possible. With that, Chairman, and members of the board, be glad to answer any questions.
Very good.
On that site restriction, what about the neighboring property? Where did they pull? They from this picture, this property, they're parking in that side parking lot, but what about the house that's right next door? Where do they pull that in and out?
Well, the house that you're seeing what you're seeing to the west of there, I believe, is the video store
No, I'm talking about on the other side.
on the other side.
That's not in the picture. Where,
Right.
like, where
It's
you're,
not-
where whoever took this picture is
It's
standing.
on the other side of their house.
So it's next to what was the Jalisco's building?
Yes.
Okay.
There might be actually one little
Is
more
that
house in
part of
between.
the new development?
I believe that's gonna be part of the new development. Yes,
So
ma'am.
it really won't be an issue for
No.
anybody, okay.
And I don't know if they're all provided, but I mean, there is one with the measurement. I didn't bring it. I didn't know I needed to bring this stuff, but it's not really that tall either.
Oh,
It was-
good. But that's a
It
neat
was really
little
hard to
rendering.
know what
Yeah.
to provide.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I believe perhaps we spoke, or someone on my team spoke with you, and I believe the height's only like less than 4 foot tall, if I
Yes.
recall correctly.
Okay,
I don't know if you recall that or not. but-
Yes, but, which is probably not a time for questions, but on one of the communications back and forth, they said, it needed to be a minimum of 2 foot off the ground, so I mean, that would make it higher, and that's not my saying. Like, I mean, that's not my doing, making it higher. I don't know if I need to also apply for variance, make it lower, cause we were just gonna do rock around it and garden bed around it and not make it then 2 foot height above that, so, I mean, that would probably make it better for viewing and driving if we didn't do what is being requested, the raising it 2 more feet. But I wasn't sure.
Will it be lit?
Yes. Sorry, I
Will
did
the,
not
will
provide
the
that, but just,
or will it be,
just like
will it have
little,
lighting
like-
or will it be lit? I guess.
Yeah, just
we
little,
need to
like,
clarify.
Spotlight,
yeah,
Spotlight.
garden
Okay.
spotlight thing.
probably, solar.
We have electricity. Our electrician, when he was building, ran it to right there, so it'll go under.
Oh, okay.
And, you'll always keep those prickly pear that exact size.
They'll be just perfect, just like that.
Beautiful. But that's the exact design of the sign?
Yes, there's I don't know if they're all on there, but, I provided one that was already made, but it is actually metal. It's like a stainless steel metal sign.
Page 71, Jeff.
Oh.
And then
the-
it's like
the-
3D kind of, it might not be on there.
Like it's,
But, so that's a
etched in,
cutout, and
a
it's
cutout,
like a
yeah.
rust interior.
Mhm.
oh, cool.
So, I mean, yes, it's like modern, rustic.
4 foot by 8 foot.
Mm-hmm.
But you're saying you don't want it to be 96 inches?
No,
Well,
yes.
no,
96 inches wide.
That's,
Why?
that's
Oh.
40.
I mean, you don't want it to be 4 feet
No,
off?
I do, but whenever I got
She wants it
these
4 feet,
communications
but
back, they
not
said it
6
needed to be
feet.
that, but then I needed to raise it off of the ground minimum of 2 feet.
I see. So that concrete there would be, so the 48 is going from the top line,
That's
from
that's the
top
sign.
bottom on the-
That's
yeah.
just
From
the
here.
sign.
to here?
Yep,
Yeah.
yeah,
And
just
then
the sign.
here to here has to be 2 feet.
So it actually would be
You're saying-
72.
Which, I mean, that's probably pretty close, but I just
60.
wasn't sure on that.
And you're wondering if,
Is it 72?
Says
Does it
that-
six-
on the ground.
Does it have to
if
be?
it has to be 2 feet, would that be another variance request?
Mr. Chairman, we'll review that with this fine, nice young lady, and if there's any
additional.
latitude there, we will certainly work with her on it. If not, we'd have to come back to the board because we only requested the setback.
I know, sorry.
So.
Okay. Well, I
uh,
just wanted to save you some money. But hopefully, if there is latitude, I would ask that you grant that.
Understood, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
If we, I'm not trying to get ahead of ourselves, but at the same time, I am mindful that these requests take your time and a little money, and I understand that, so.
And, yeah, and I guess, I mean, I can get some clarification on if that's from like the ground to the very bottom of that. I mean, we might be at 2 feet once we have the concrete and the landscaping in there.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
Okay,
but yeah, the variance is for 7 feet, so it's
From
just
the-
from the sidewalk, it needed to be 10 feet off,
Yeah.
and that would put it in the building. So, I was doing 3 foot off the sidewalk, which if you go up and down Washington right here, there's some that are like on the sidewalk almost, so.
okay. All right. Well, any other questions from the board? Thank you so much.
Thank y'all.
Ms. Davis. And are there any members from the community to speak for or against this case, request? Okay, well, I'll close the public hearing. Do I hear a motion regarding case number V 2024-020?
I move that we approve case, that we approve the variance for case number V 2024-020.
Thank you so much, JJ. Thank you for the second. Robert seconded. Okay, very good. Any discussion?
I would just have one comment. You mentioned the prickly pear cactuses. Given that this is across the street from a kindergarten and that we do have families in the city of Stephenville that walk and use the sidewalks, maybe succulents instead of. Otherwise, I have no other comment.
Very good. Any other questions, comments, discussion? All right, I'll call the question. All in favor of the request being approved for a variance in case V 2024-020, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed, say aye. All right, it's approved unanimously. Thank you and congratulations. And we're looking forward to seeing a very beautiful sign. And then, like I said before, if it's possible, we've given permission to Mr. Killen to
Follow the
allow
law.
that law to be, you know, your desire is basically for it to be a 6-foot sign in total. It sounded like, you know, but if it ends up being 8, you know, because of the those requirements, then if you need another request, I guess you'd have to go through the process, but.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
I don't think anyone's gonna deny that one. All right, all approved?
Yeah.
Say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
I still wanna know what